Hey everybody, welcome back. Doing an Iso-8 math grind. What should you focus on? Because there's not a whole lot of resources type video. There's a lot of talk about where are you at with ions? Where are you at with crystals? I've gotten a lot of DMs and chat on the Discord. If you want to come talk about stuff, link in the Discord to the Discord in the description below. A lot of people talking about, well, I've done all these different types of characters, or I'm saving up for these type of characters, or I'm doing in-betweens. And I did a video like this for gold back in the day where it's kind of like, hey, you know, you got to recognize that we've got this sort of bottleneck here, and the only way to do that is if you do all these different type of things, and it's going to take this long to catch up or this long to farm, and, you know, be smart about where you put, you get the idea, right? It's a resource management game. So, needed to do it for Iso-8. We got these ions, and we got these crystals. Just a couple resources, and they're giving us a whole bunch of stuff right now. And it feels really good to put them into your characters and power them up and do all these things. But is that the smart thing to do right now? I mean, you probably already know the answer to that, depending on what you want to spend later. So it's kind of how this stuff works. I don't really want to get to that right now, but it is a business, so there's going to be things that are going to get you going in it, right? So anyway, I'm going to jump into some spreadsheet stuff. Go over how I did the math so that, you know, if anybody sees something I did wrong, please, like I said, come to Discord. Won't be the first time I'm wrong. It's not going to be the last. God only knows. Ask my wife. But I actually tell her the only time I was wrong was once, and it was about being wrong. Think about that one for a second. So anyway, no, on a serious note, let me know if I missed something here. I'm sure there's, you know, something that somebody's going to pick up, right? But I think I got this one. So anyway, I'll go through some spreadsheets. I'll look at the roster a little bit, show you about what I did, show you a couple pictures, but generally it's the math. And at the end of the day, kind of show you how long or tough some of this stuff can be.
Bring me WolverThor!
Okay, so before I jump into the spreadsheet, I just want to show you a little bit about my mentality here. You won't see a lot of ISO characters on here, and don't necessarily the classes that I've got here, don't necessarily think that's what my recommendation is. I'm testing some things out. I want to play around a little bit, so that way when we put these in our infographics and all that, it, you know, makes sense. But I essentially only have Black Order, these two, Proxima and Corvus, I've only got at level 1, and then the symbiotes. And my symbiotes, I have at level 4, with the exception of Carnage and Scream, who I've only got at level 3. I'd love to be able to bring them up more, but I can't right now. So I'm short. So at some point I'll get there, but I'm short crystals for those particular characters, which will play into this conversation a little bit, right? So I'm trying to test these characters, Raid, Arena. I mean, if you're going to take away one thing from this video, focus on Raid, focus on Arena, then focus on Raid, okay? Okay. So, yeah, so that gives you a little bit of mentality where I'm at. You can see I've still got about 378,000 ions there, which is not too bad. You know, I'm not going to go through and show you each different character type and how many crystals I have. This is generally pretty consistent because I did the Black Order and then I went into the symbiotes, and between those two teams, they cover most of the different types of classes. So that's the mentality I have in the game. Now I'll go show you the spreadsheet for kind of how we start doing this math. Okay, so the way to start this, honestly, is that I got the crystal fusion cost here. And this is just how much ions it costs per crystal level up, and I'll go through how I got to that in a second. Then I've got the class levels and how many ions it costs there, and then the crystals, which also show in game how many crystals you need per stat, right? So I've got level 1, level 2, all this type of thing. So you can see at level 5, I'm showing 70,000 fusion ion cost, and then it's times 5 different stat categories for a total of 350,000. Now that's from 0 to that point. Okay, I'm not doing the additive thing where it's like, well, if you do, look, it's 35,000 ions to get to level 5. Okay, that's how it gets piece imparted in there. Just simple 350,000 ions. I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. The class levels, same thing, where I'm just gonna, I've just got the ion. This one's a little bit simpler, it's a flat rate, and then you just add them up at the bottom for 95,000. And then you get, what is that, 445,000 between the two of them. So I'll show you in game real quick exactly how I got to that from some pictures. So what you'll see here is a Ebony Maw that's ready to get his level 5. It's a 50,000 fuse cost, but the thing to remember here is don't assume it's 50,000. You'll see right here there's an equipped level 4, so you've got to factor in the fusion cost to get to that point, which is 20,000. Okay, so 50 plus 20 to get to that level 4, it's your 70, right? And that's per category, per finger, per stat, whatever you want to call it. 70,000 is how you get to that point. Here's another concept where you got the level 3, it talks about 2,000, but you've already got, what is that, 3 of the level 2s, right? So you got to factor in those things. In my math, I try to make it simple where you don't have to do all this different, what's going on with this, what's going on with that. There's a lot of ways to break into the fusion, but just focus in, assuming you have nothing underneath it, that's the cost to get there. The level cost in game, I'm going to the medic here because this is one of the ones I have not done anything with because we got it free. But you can see there's this upgrade cost right here for 5,000 at level 2, 15 for 3, 25 for 4, and 50 for 5. It's a flat rate. It's what you get to go. Now this is per class, mind you. Now if the more you mess around with this class, the more with the other classes, it costs more. So when you see this 95,000, you could easily multiply that times the 5 classes. And if you wanted to get crazy with someone who's a multiple, I mean, that gets 475,000. All right, let's just say it's that times 3. So you're needing a lot more there, all right? Or if you want somebody who's gonna go with 2, 190, that cost goes up pretty quick, right? So you've got a lot of ions here that, for one character. 445,000 to get to level 5, and then 95,000 per class. And that 95, again, if you do another class, it's another 95. Do another class, it's another 95. You get the idea. You probably already know that. So you need a lot of ions. The other part here is the crystals. Like I mentioned, level 1, you need 5. It's 1 per category. Level 3, level 2, you need 3 per category, and that's how you get to the 15. It's how many you need per category. So at level 5, you need 81 per, which is 405 crystals. And you really notice, if you focus here, level 4 and 5 are where things kind of go. They take a spike where the resources needed for them go through the roof. And that's one of those things that, again, these type of games, they do that. You're in there, oh yeah, this is great, this is awesome, I love it. How much is it for the next level? What? Are you serious? Okay. This is where you can see those crystals where it's the 9, 27, and the 81, right? So that's what you're looking at there. So now the question becomes, all right, well, how many ions do we get per day? So I've done this math here, which I'll go over how I got to this in a second. But you've got the daily ISO campaigns, which is, 10,000. That's just, if you do in a campaign, you get the daily reward of 10,000. Farming, my math comes out to just under 43,000, which gives you a subtotal of just under 53,000. Full Matrix gives you 25,000, but that ends here in about a week, 5 days. So who knows if that's going to stick around. I'm guessing it doesn't. It'd be awesome if it does because it gives us crystals as well, but I'm not expecting that. Then we've got the orb, the ion orb, which I'll go through the math there, but I've got some, I show you that you get 62 or 63,000 potential ions from that. So the first thing up is that orb. So the way I did the math here is you got the 3 pillars, you got to take the 3 different types or whatever number of potential drops in there, multiply it for the probability, get the different totals, add them up, and then you've got that the probability to get us that number within the orb or that pillar. So 10,000, 15,000, 25,000, the probabilities, multiply it out, add it up, you get that. That's the probability of, and could it be higher than that? Yeah. But on average, throughout all the drops, that's what you get. You keep that consistent for the right pillar because it's the exact same as the left pillar. Center pillar's got some different drops, different drop rates. Totals out at a rough average of 38,000. Could you get a bunch of 100,000s? Yeah, sure you could. But the likelihood's low, so it averages out at about 38. You add those 3 pillars up, you get an average of just about 63,000 ions per orb. Okay, that's not bad. I mean, you look over here and you're like 52,000 a day from my farming and my ISO campaign. One of these orbs gives me 10,000 more than that. That's pretty good if you're looking at it that way. Now, one of these orbs costs 375 cores, which is $5. Okay, so it's like, well, 63,000, I come back over here, I'm like, all right, well, if I just want to get to a level 5, you know, if you take 350 divided by 63,000, you know, that's 5 times $5. It's basically 28 bucks. So 28 bucks to get one character to level 5 with just the ions. So forget the crystals. 30 bucks to get one character, enough ions to be able to get to level 5. If you're purely doing that orb, okay? And again, I know that we're not all doing that. So anyway, the math there, 63,000, that's a potential way to get it. The farming, let's jump to that here. All right, so 42,750. Now the first thing I gotta kind of explain here is the energy math. The way this works is you get 1 ISO energy every 4 minutes. Maxes out at 120. You can gain 15 energy in an hour. That means it takes 8 hours to max that energy. Okay, and that means you can do that 3 times in a 24-hour period. Now you've got to be very efficient at this. If you hit your max, this 360, which I'm saying is the max energy for regen here, so you can do it 3 times, max energy. Okay, that's 360. If you sit there, every time that thing sits there and goes 4 minutes without being able to tick to 121 or something, that means that 360 comes down. Now the next thing you get is 3 daily free energy that at 80 a pop, 240, pretty simple. Now this part, now that's a total of 600 free energy per day if you're really good about your regen. 50 core refreshes. Now everyone might not be able to do this part, but I would highly recommend that you do it if you got the cores. If you don't have the cores, this grind is going to be a lot harder for you. 120 per 50 core refresh. You can do it 4 times a day. That's 480. So you get the max ISO energy per day if you're doing those 50 core refreshes at 1,080. All right. Now that factors in when we're getting into our ion farming math. The farming nodes, there's 2 nodes, 2 types of nodes. One that costs 24 energy and can give you 1,000 ions. Okay, that's one type of node. The other type of node costs 12 energy, ISO energy, and can give you 425 ions on the node. And that's each time you do it. And you can do each one up to 5 times, right? So 24 and 1,000, 12, 425. Ions are guaranteed no matter what. You get them every single time. I've got some math here about ions per energy. I also listed number of nodes of that type. There's 6 of the 1,000s. There's 13 of the 425. The times you can farm each of that node, they're 5. That's typical. The next part, energy cost to farm all nodes. It's simply the 24 times the number of nodes times the times that you can farm that node. All right, so you can do 720 energy towards those nodes. Now, long and short is you're going to want to farm the 1,000 ion nodes, but just accept that for the time being for this discussion. I think you'll agree with me by the end of this. So you get 720 energy to farm all those nodes, which means that you've only got 360 left out of that 1,080 if you've been perfectly efficient to farm the 425 ion nodes, whatever you want to call them, which means that you can farm that one. And I jumped the other column here where it's 360 divided by 12, you get 30. So the math actually shakes out that you can do 30 of each type of node, okay? Which means if you're doing 30 of each one, the 30 times the 24 or the 1,000 ions gets you 30,000 ions for those type, and it gives you 12,750 of the 425 ion nodes, which totals up for 42,750. If I lost you that whole time, just know that based on the max energy you can get per day, focus on the 1,000 ion nodes. Once you do those 6 nodes, you have 360 energy left over to do the 425 ion nodes, the 425 ion type nodes, which gives you another 12,750 ions. You max out at 42,750 ions per day if you're farming perfectly efficiently. And that's how we got to that number right there. All right. And that's where you get the 52,750. Like I mentioned, you can get another 25 from the full matrix, and you can get the 62 from the cores. So now the question becomes, like, well, it's great. So I've got all these different ions and crystals and all that stuff over here. But wait a minute, you haven't talked about crystals yet. You're right. All right, so let's look at the crystal math. Don't do crystal math. Crystal math is bad for you. I'm talking you Floridians. There's a terrible joke in there somewhere. All right, so full disclosure, I don't know the presumed drop rates for these. I don't know, how often you can get a crystal from either type of node. This is a completely unscientific, like, all right, I'm just doing it one at a time. Okay, I got none there, none there. Okay, I got 2 there. Okay, one there. Okay, 3 there. Okay, all right. So, and talking with a couple other people and just, it feels about this percent. So, having done it that way, I tried to list a little bit of a range of presumed drop rates and settled in on a couple. I just need you to kind of bear with me on this one a little bit because the fact that we don't know. What I do know is you can get up to 3 crystals out of the 1,000 ion type nodes and at least 2 on the 425s. I've been told you could get 4 from the 1,000 ion nodes, but I'm not sure there. That's Lampharod. I don't know. He helped me a lot with some of this stuff, bounced some of the ideas off of him. He's pretty sure he's seen a 4 from the 1,000, but I couldn't get it to actually work. It's probably pretty rare. Regardless, it's hard to tell what the drop rate is here. So, having gone through that scientific experiment, I settled in at the 425 ion type nodes has a 30% drop rate to give you a crystal. All right. Now, again, remember, the crystal type is random. So each node has a couple different types or a few different types of node. It's going to be random. So you can't focus farm those type of nodes. It's going to be random. So if you assume that 30% drop rate on the 425 ion node, you get some crystals per energy spent per 1 crystal, which ends up shaking down to 40. And if you can look at the formula there if you want to come again to the Discord and tell me I might have screwed something up. Essentially gets to 9 crystals per day if you get that 425. Now, I want to point out that in this 40, it's like, well, wait a minute. Wolver, are you actually using the same energy that you used a second ago? And yes. So of that 40, I came over here and I only factored in the 360 energy that I was saying I could use to farm those type of nodes. So I'm being consistent between the 2 different charts here to make sure I only use the energy I'm allocating for that same type of node. So again, if you don't want to deal with the math or comprehend the math, just trust that it's 9 crystals per day. 1,000, now I felt, and that's not science, I felt like the drop rate for the 1,000 ion type nodes was higher for crystals. I settled in at about 50% because for every one you don't get something, it seems like you'll get a few in a row with 2 or 3. So it's kind of like, all right, this one seems a little higher. So I went with the 50% drop rate here, which gives me, 15 per day, crystals per day. And again, same math where I'm jumping over here and I'm using this 720 ISO energy for those type of nodes. So I got 15. So the 15 and the 9 is 24. If you don't believe my presumed drop rates here, understand that this gets worse. This is like the best case scenario. So if it's a 30% drop rate, this 24 is an 18. So that means you only get 18 crystals a day. This is the max crystals you can get per day. And remember, it's random based on the nodes you're farming. You're not guaranteed. If you're focus farming Brawler, you might not get it. You might get a controller or whatever else is on that node. So anyway, you get 24 crystals per day. So again, how does that play into all of this stuff over here? All right, so first let's look at the ions. So the total T1 level 3 crystal fusion class levels is 45,000. Again, that's just simply these 3 plus that one gives you the 45,000. So for you to get to a level 3 character in one class, it's going to cost you 45,000 ions. If you want to get to level 5, it's a lot more. Like I said, just those 2 level jumps is 400,000 more ions to get those last 2 levels. And I'm going to come back to this in a second because there's a reason it works this way. And I see another reason coming that you want to probably be smart about how you spend these ions. So we've got 445,000 ions to get to level 5. Now again, we know how many we're farming per day, right? We're over here and we're talking about 52,000, 53,000. So when you're looking at that, the days farmed that you need to farm that amount, it's just simply that 45K divided by the 53. And that's just from the ISO energy, so it's simple. So you're like, oh, well, I can get every day I can get a character to level 3. Why wouldn't I do that? All right, well, we'll get to that in a minute. And then if you include full matrix on there, it gets lower. If you add an orb, it gets even lower. And as you probably already can see and tell, the next part here is, well, what about to get to level 5? How many days do I need to farm ions for that? Okay, it's just over a week. It's 8.5 days. to get one character, enough ions to get to level 5. Same thing with if you add the full matrix, it reduces it to about 6 days. If you add an orb, it reduces it to just under 4 days. So you might be sitting there thinking, well, that's not too bad. You know, if I only need a week to get one character to that, well, okay, I guess so. You know, it's, again, these days go up if you want more classes and all that kind of thing, but it's, you know, it's a grind per character. 9 days per character. You know, 100, was there 150 characters in the game or something like that right now? Let's just say 150. It's 1,356 days divided by 365 days. That's 3.5 years. So, that's cool. 3.5 years to get all 150 characters to that. Level 1. Level 1, or let me say it differently. T1, green, level 5. So if you want to get 150 characters to that level, farming 8 days, it'll take you 3.5 years to get that. Remember, there is going to be tier 2, tier blue, tier 3, purple, tier 4, orange. I cut myself a finger short there. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get tier 5, red. Okay? So again, be smart about where you put your ions in. Because you might feel like you're getting a ton now, but it's not going to be like that forever. You're going to start grinding these things hard. This jump up right here from level 3 to level, from level 3 to level 5, it gets bonkers. Straight up bonkers. So be smart about that, okay? So, but having said that, you know, it feels, if you don't factor in the fact there's 150 characters, and you're obviously not going to do this to your Ravagers and da-da-da-da-da. Okay, fine. It's not 3.5 years. It's a year and a half. Whatever. It's somewhere between a year and 3.5 years. It takes time. Okay. Now, the idea is crystals. So I'm going to unhide this column here. So now that that column's unhidden, days to farm crystals here. All right. So, you know, these are easy. Now it's like, well, what are you dividing that by, right? And again, it's the number that we took over here. We scroll all the way over here where I do 24. Right, so if 24 is right, that means to get, and again, this is not guaranteed to give you the exact crystals you need. So that means these days could be longer. So when I say level 5, it's going to take you 17 days. 17 days of perfect farming to get enough crystals. That's a lot of days. Okay? 17 days times 150 characters, 2,550 days, for those wondering, divided by 365 days is 7 years, my friends. 7 years if my presumption drop rates are right and if you get the crystals you need from those drops. Now, I said before, I'm like, those rates could be lower, right? It could be lower. Let's not do those two nodes. Instead of, you know, 30 and 50, let's say it's 30 and 30. So now it's 18. So let's scroll all the way back over here. Okay, 23 days there. All right, let's do the math there again. 23 days. 23 days times 150 characters, 3,450 total days divided by 365 is 9.5 years. 9.5 years. Again, that's every character. You're probably not going to do Ravagers all the way to level 5, but what I'll challenge you is that there's so many different aspects of the game that require different things. This is the first level of ISO. There's going to be ISO tier 2, tier 3. If the game continues to be in a mold where you need characters for arena, different characters for raids, different characters for the Greek raids, all these different war teams, I challenge you to say, okay, you might not use 100% of the characters in the game, but you're probably using it 80-ish, 70-ish, close to it. So instead of let's just say 70%. So 150 times 70% is 105 characters. Times 23, or no, that's times 22.5. That's 2,362.5 days. Divided by 365 per year, it's still 6.5 years. Fine, okay, it's not 9.5 years, it's 6.5 years. Whatever. It's a long time. These crystals, these ions, the ions clearly are less of a grind than the crystals based on days to farm it. But holy cow, these crystals. Do not Look, you know, 9 characters at level 1 mean you're losing out at 1 level 3. And the same concept applies for level 5. Every 9 at level 3, you lose out on level 5. So you got to be smart about where you put your crystals. Don't just do a bunch of teams all over the place. And guess what? You know what? Let's save this for the outro. So guess what? We got Dark Dimension 4 coming. We've got this kind of gotcha dynamic right now where everybody's, and it seems like overwhelmingly positive for ISO. And I will say that I think Scopely, they really listened well after those initial alpha and beta tests. This setup is way better than what it was. I think if, as far as a added progression system, I don't see how it could be much better than this. I really don't. There's some tweaks I maybe would have made with the classes, but all in all, it's pretty darn good. So you're getting these resources that are kind of like, oh yeah, engage, 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 engage. And you quickly realize, and as a lot of people are already realizing, you don't have enough resources to get to the upper echelon of things. So if you spread yourself out too thin, it's harder to get some other characters up to the top. This happened to a lot of people for Dark Dimension 4. They started T13ing all their war teams because they wanted T13. They wanted their defenses to be so much better. And then Dark Dimension said, oh, by the way, you need to be T14 to get in. It's like, oh, I don't have any SBCs. Oops. Would you be surprised if Dark Dimension 4 came in and required ISO level 5 along with T15? Because I wouldn't. I'm not going to be surprised at all if that's what it is. Do I know that's what it is? No. Has anyone told me that's what it is? Is it even a rumor? No. But I absolutely think it makes sense. We're all spending a whole bunch of these resources all over the place. It's there. So then to get to Dark Dimension 4, to get this super powerful Doom character, you're going to need ISO level 5. In theory. Maybe not. I'd love to be wrong here. I'd love to be wrong here. So anyway, be careful, right? It's going to take a long time. Be smart about your resources. Don't just spend them willy-nilly. These ISO classes, you can easily use all your resources and then not have what you need to for your most important team. Forget Dark Dimension 4 for a second. For your most important teams. Get your most important teams up to level 4, level 5. Then worry about your second or third war defense team or all your war offense teams. Yeah, it'd be great to have Fantastic Four all boosted up. But you know what? I need my arena team. I need my raid team. Okay, I need some of my backup raid teams, or I need my team that might go into Dark Dimension 4, which I don't know yet. So maybe wait for that. Anyway, all right, I'm preaching. I hope this helped you guys. I really wanted to dive into this. This is one of my longer videos. I really care about doing these type of videos. It's why I got into the content creation game, is to try to share things that I do and see and the way I play that might help other people. And I try to do the math behind it to show that this is why I think this way. I don't know. Maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this doesn't suit your playstyle, and that's fine. But I wanted to share it, and hopefully it helps those who think close or similar to me, or maybe it might cause some of you to wait a little bit to spend some of these resources. So I appreciate you stopping by. Like I mentioned before, the Discord is in the description below. Click that link. Come by. Chat with us. Let us know what we got right, what we got wrong. Thoughts, questions, all types of different things. Share with your alliance mates, grandmas, grandpas, aunts, uncles, cousins, anybody, to help them get their Iso-8 game stronger. Hopefully that's what it does for you. Hammer down the like button, click that notification bell, subscription button, whatever that stuff is down there. Till next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.